Thank you for joining us at our Engadget CES 2018 booth. It's a lot of fun. I think we've got a really nice color scheme going on here. I am Chris Velasco, Senior Mobile Editor for Engadget, and I'm joined today by Kyle Jung, Head of Marketing for OnePlus. And we've got some stuff to talk about, don't we?
Fire away.
First off, it's been a while. Good to see you.
Yeah, man.
So, as I understand it, the OnePlus 5T, which, if you're not familiar, is sort of an incremental update to the OnePlus 5, which is a very strong flagship-level smartphone that did not cost a ton of money when it launched earlier this year. The OnePlus 5T has been doing well, and you just went on sale with the Sandstone model, a limited edition. How's that been going?
Good. So we launched the 5T in November of this year, so it's been almost 2 months. It's done really well. It's been actually our best-selling device to date, and we're really proud of it. Actually, this morning we launched a limited edition white Sandstone that was kind of a limited edition, and it sold out in 30 minutes. So you've got one. You can check it out. So
okay.
Yeah. So
okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You sold all of them in 30 minutes. What's that production run? How many units are we actually talking about here?
Decent amount. I'll double check the numbers. It wasn't, it was intended to be a limited edition kind of thing. So you can check it out and tell us what you think, and maybe if there's interest, we'll maybe do another run.
So I have played with the Sandstone model, and I think what's really interesting about it to me is that it's almost identical to another version, another limited edition that you guys did that was a Star Wars tie-in, and that's frankly a little insane. OnePlus is a startup that's generated a lot of goodwill, but that's a huge partnership to land. How did that happen?
So it was a lot of times stuff we do seems kind of informal. So we did earlier this year, we kind of just did a social media post, May the 4th be with you, and there was a lot of surprising interest. And there's actually a lot of interest in India, actually. And so we actually got some user feedback in India that there was, that franchise is getting bigger and there's some brand connection. So we actually did kind of just a kind of partnership with the recent Star Wars film in India and launched a device there, did some co-marketing that was pretty well received. So we probably didn't overthink it, but kind of a nice merge of two brands with kind of highly engaged fan bases.
You guys had a press conference for the OnePlus 5T in New York, and I think that was very much meant to be a coming out party. There are a lot of people out there who might have heard the name, they might know someone who has a OnePlus, but I think in general your sort of priorities and your values as a company are still sort of unknown. How do you explain that to people?
Yes, I mean, I think probably a lot of folks who are watching today are still getting an introduction to OnePlus, and I think we kind of refer to it as word of mouth, right? The way most people find out about OnePlus is a family or friend who's probably pretty knowledgeable about technology tells them about it. And that's really how, in the end of the day, we do marketing. We're pretty good at it, I think. And I think we do a great job in terms of content, engagement, social. But it's really that kind of word of mouth, and more people hear about it. And that's kind of been our recipe so far.
The 5T is a pretty dramatic change from what we got in the 5. Can you talk to us about how you sort of made the decisions to go with a longer display, to kind of go with the improved dual camera? What sort of drove those decisions for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things for us, right? So the 5 was received really well, right? And I think a couple of the big changes on the 5T were more immersive screen, so we went to 18 by 9 versus 16.9, and we removed the front fingerprint sensor. And we made those decisions based on the fact that, one, the quality and quantity of screens, we felt comfortable that we could deliver the level of quality we expect. And also, I think we saw this year that more and more consumers were asking for a more immersive screen experience. And we only did it once we were able to deliver the level of performance that we would expect. So I think that's where Face Unlock came from, where it was an incremental convenience feature to unlock your device because the fingerprint sensor wasn't on the front anymore.
Mm-hmm. Is there a certain slice of the market that OnePlus kind of aspires to capture? Or is that really not a concern for you? You seem pretty nonplussed by the idea.
I mean, I think it sounds ridiculous because I think a lot of people think our business model and philosophy is a bit simple. But I think we believe as long as we keep making the best product, everything else will kind of come. I don't think this industry is going to change radically to where people aren't going to want great phones. To make a really good mobile phone is really, really hard. Really hard. We let our product speak for itself.
I think that's the understatement.
Understatement of 2017, right? Yeah. It's really hard, right? And so I think we cheer for other people in this industry. We're not competitive in that sense. We're fans of the industry, but we know how hard it is to make good phones. We know how hard it is to make the combination of hardware and software. We know how hard it is to make mobile software. And I mean, we're not too worried about competition. What we say for ourselves is our biggest competition is kind of ourselves. If we do a good job, that's all we're really worried about. Because in the end of the day, we think early in our story, right? I mean, so take a poll of the guys here. Ask them how many of them heard of OnePlus.
Actually, really quickly, anyone in the audience here right now, who has heard of OnePlus? Raise your hand.
All right, so that's
a decent chunk,
that's,
actually.
You know, that's 25, 30%, right?
Yeah.
You know, and last year it would have been less, right? But I think every year more and more people will hear about OnePlus, and as long as we make what we think are the best cell phones, best mobile phones, our product speaks for itself, and our users can speak for us and do the marketing for us.
Do you think there's a limit to that kind of success, though? Within the last few months, we've had a couple incidents that sort of made people question the trustworthiness of OnePlus. So there was the engineer mode situation in which an app that remained on a phone sort of offered access that you wouldn't necessarily want available to other people. How do you sort of balance these little gaffes with your commitment to kind of being a trustworthy company overall?
Yeah, and I think what we try to do is we try to be more transparent than most, because I mean that's the way we started, right? We have firsthand relationships with our users. We talk to them pretty directly, and I think we try to be open about it. The engineering mode, because I'm glad you asked me actually, because this is something that came up this year, and I feel like we didn't even give a chance to kind of explain, where somebody kind of went online and posted something where what engineering mode was basically a factory feature on the device that was mainly for factory production and after sales, where basically in a very, very unique circumstance where you had to have access to the device, you had the device had to be unlocked, you had to be in several engineering mode settings, including USB debugging, which is very deep in the device, which is not on by default. So this was you had to have all these things take place to then get access to the device, and it didn't give you access to third-party apps, etc. So for us, we didn't even think of this really as a major kind of security concern, but somebody kind of went online and posted this, and a lot of people kind of wrote about it before even asking us like what the deal was.
I have to admit, I'll be completely candid with you. It's a little difficult sometimes to take your very sort of optimistic comments about trying to build trust with customers, then stuff like this happens. And I remember with the OnePlus 3 or 3T, I think it was the 3T, when we were running our benchmark tests, and everyone was doing their synthetic benchmarks. And the problem was we were getting scores that were a little bit off. And like that by itself it doesn't look great for you guys. It doesn't frankly look great for us either. But the situations sort of keep coming up where OnePlus seems to fall short, at least in communicating openly. Is that something you guys are working on?
I think it's totally a fair point where communication on some of this stuff could be better. I think on the benchmark one, that was one last year where, and when people asked us, we explained this and I don't think benchmarks are the right way to necessarily measure the performance of the device.
Sure.
I think the most way people test it is in daily use, and we feel good about that. I think on that one, when we were just basically had the setting where it was intending to emulate how you would normally use a device and how it would normally be taxed. We probably could have communicated that better, and when we got feedback, we're like, all right, we'll just change it. So I think I don't pretend that we haven't made mistakes. We're very, when we make a mistake, we're pretty open about it, and we know we're open about it because our users will get on us. When we started, we made a product that was very well received by global consumers, including here in the U.S. that were technology, fans, enthusiasts, right? If you go to any large technology company in the Bay, and you walk around, especially with engineers and developers, you'll see a lot of OnePlus phones, right? So in the end of the day, I think of U.S. that differently than some of the other markets, Europe, India, where the consumers are very similar in what they want. We have developed carrier partnerships in Europe. We have a very strong relationship in India with Amazon. And so we have long-term partnerships, and I think in the future, every geography will look for partners that share our long-term philosophy, but we're not necessarily compromising our philosophy and approach just to get distribution.
So I'm sure you've had conversations at some point. Is the general feeling that U.S. carriers are just incompatible with what you guys are trying to accomplish?
No, I don't think so. I think for us, we're just patient, right? I think we're patient about finding the right partners, and I think it goes back to your point earlier where we probably seem a bit more conservative, not necessarily as running to make, we take a longer term approach, probably.
Kyle, it's always really great to talk to you.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
I love getting in the weeds about phones.
Always.
Love this stuff. Really appreciate everyone here in the audience and everyone watching at home. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed watching it as much as I assume, have enjoyed giving it to you. We're going to have a lot more here on our CES stage here at Las Vegas, so stay tuned. We'll be back with a lot more.